some diseases that are caused because of prions, and one I found two.
Okay.
One is cystic fibrosis, and the other one is Huntington disease. Yeah,
Huntington.
yeah,
Okay. So one that you found was cystic fibrosis. And I
and
already
Huntington's
and
disease.
Huntington's. And I already told you about Parkinson's and Alzheimer's, right?
Yes,
So including cystic fibrosis and the other one you said?
Huntington's disease.
Huntington's.
Yes.
All these, so this is quite rare disease. Cystic fibrosis is also was rare, but now, with increasing population, a lot of people are suffering from cystic fibrosis. But the important point here is that all these kind of diseases, we have no treatment. We do not know how to treat it completely, because they start earlier. We used to believe, and still we believe, that they are embedded at the genetic level, but now you got to know that apart from the genetics, it's also the effect of genetics on the proteins like prions. So prions cause these diseases, right?
Yes.
Okay. Did you also figure out what are chaperones?
I tried, but I did not find the answer to how they are folded.
Okay, yeah. So that is one question a lot of people are trying to find answers for. So I just wanted to tickle your curiosity so that you go back and try to find. And anyways, you would have found that the question is still not fully solved, and there are some research papers which may or may not be very interesting to read. Sometimes very high-end research is very boring till you reach that level of understanding. So that's fine. So for today's class, carrying forward from there, because there was a lot of elements which I also include in these classes, which helps you in your entrances and exams, because there's no point of knowledge if you cannot translate it into something useful, right? I cannot go on telling you fantasies and stories in science which are of no use to you. So today we'll be taking on evolution. Okay. Evolution is a very misunderstood concept in science, in not only in biology, in the whole science. Evolution, especially the biological evolution. And then we'll go to evolution of molecules. So we'll start with DNA and molecular evolution. Also, few interesting things which are important that we'll try to cover is, so you must have heard about this one thing, DNA fingerprinting.
Yes.
So now here, Tom.
Yes, I'm in 12th, so I've studied.
Oh, that's very good. So, and also common name for this is, we do the DNA test, right?
Yes.
To find out whose progeny is who and whose kin is who. Okay. So we'll try to understand the basic behind it, because you also must have read that, we share almost 99.9% of our DNA sequence with chimpanzee.
Yes, sir.
So if we share 99.9% of DNA sequence with chimps, then with humans, we must be sharing almost 100% of our DNA, right?
Yes.
And with all humans, I'm talking like you sharing your almost 100% of your DNA sequence with me is not like all the genes and all the proteins are going to be same, right? You do not have any extra protein in your body. You may have. So what is that thing which differs, which helps us in deciding parenthood or kinship? Because we know that there's nothing different, right? But still there must be something different. So we'll try to study and understand about this. I'll be showing you some interacting videos as well. So before we go on, let me just ask you simple question. What do you understand by evolution? It may or may not be the textbook answer, but, and when I'm saying evolution, I'm talking about the biological evolution.
They are the small changes which
Okay.
are important, and also over time they play a major role in our existence.
So do you think you have evolved?
Yeah.
Like from what? What was your less evolved form?
Like olden days, there was like people did not know how do I say this? Like I don't know.
No, but you, like older days, you can. I'm asking about you. So if you are, let's say, how old are you?
I'm turning 18.
You're 20,
I'm turning 18.
18. Nice.
Yeah.
So in your 18 years of life, do you think any sort of biological evolution has happened to you?
Yeah, I've grown taller
So is it an
and
evolution? It's just growth, right? It's not evolution. I'm talking about biological evolution. So you have to very clearly understand, because when you go to entrances and you sit and you start answering high order thinking skills question that they say, like especially in the entrance of AIMS, there used to be very good questions about evolution and phylogeny. So you have to understand that you are 18 years old. So you have spent all your biology has spent 18 years. So there is one thing which is growth. Every organism grows and changes happen. So changes related to growth. So growth related changes. Another thing is evolution related changes. So this is, you have grown taller, your limbs have grown, there are a lot of characters that you have inherited as you grew. But do you think you have evolved biologically? Or is it not possible? Like in 18 years, we cannot evolve.
uh, I think I've just grown.
You have
Yeah.
not evolved, you think?
No.
Okay. So this is because the kind of education we get at schools or through textbooks tells us that evolution is something which takes place in a span of millions of years, right? So book will tell you that everything started as a single cell, and then after 3.4 billion years, we are humans. You know? So from here to here, this is the span of time, and this whole process is called evolution, which is so much confusing and not very correctly put to understand. That is why a lot of people in even in science are very skeptical about evolution. They believe that evolution is not a it's not a correct phenomena. It's just a theory. It has no proofs, because no one tells in detail about your 18 years of life and what evolution means in generation to generation scenario. Okay, so we will try to get on these things. But before that, one thing which is very repetitive in all my classes is getting to know our biomolecules. So what do you know about DNA? Let's start with DNA. What is DNA?
Deoxyribonucleic acid.
Yeah, that's what it's called.
Yeah.
Yes. Apart from that,
It's the genetic material.
what do you mean by genetic material?
Transfer of characters from parent to offspring.
Oh, that is what happens after reproduction. Okay. What is genetic material? Like suppose there is no transfer happening, because in your 18 years of life, the DNA was inside you. Where is it inside you?
It's in my cells.
Each and every cell.
Yes.
So is the DNA in each and every cell of your body the same?
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you sure?
I guess, yeah.
Yes. But then why are your cells so different? The cell of your eyes are so different from the cell of your bones. The cell of your bloods are so different from the cell of your tissues and skin and muscles. So there are thousands of different kinds of cell, and you are saying that in each and every cell the DNA is the same. Would you like to stand by this statement, or would you like to change the statement? I'm giving you a chance, because see, we are discussing. Let's make it interesting so that you understand what we are going to learn. So have you ever thought that if DNA is same in each and every cell of mine, why are my cells different? Why I have so many different kinds of cells? Just think about it. See, you can be wrong. At the worst, you can be wrong, and that's fine. It's not a sin.
Yes. Okay.
So do you think that there is a difference in DNA in cell to cell in your body?
No.
No. Okay. The DNA is same. So rule 101 is the DNA is same. Okay, cool. then why are all your cells different? What do you think? Before I tell you the answer, what do you think? Because if I keep telling you answers and answers, it will be a very boring lecture. You'll just keep noting, and after 40 minutes, you'll stop noting. So you tell, how are your cell different? What do you think?
Depending on the functions it is.
Exactly. Very good. So you are saying that the shape or the size or the appearance or the type of cell depends on what function it's going to perform, right?
Yes.
So there is a reason why your RBCs are of that shape and your WBCs are different from your RBCs, and your muscle cells are elongated like fibers because they have to stretch and contract, right? When you lift thing, or when you do exercise, or when you run, or when you walk. So you're saying that things are function dependent, right? So from the
Yes.
same DNA, all these different kind of cells can be governed, taken care of, can be repaired, can be produced, and also can be reproduced if required. So if you lose a tissue in an injury, sometimes the tissues grow back, right? Not all types of tissue grow back, but some does, like your bone. When we get a fracture, the bone breaks from some places, and then after some time, the bone rejoins back, right?
Yes.
So same kind of bone tissue or bone cells have reappeared from a DNA code, which is same. Okay, so before we go on, let's just first know something about DNA that you have to try to remember. Try to remember as much as you can. Okay, I'll keep you reminding things.
Okay.
So I'll just start share. Okay. Can you see the screen?
Yes, sir.
First in one. So just a brief introduction about DNA structure. Okay, so we'll just first know, and I'll tell you a few things that I'm going to use to explain molecular evolution. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. So you don't need the voice, because the voice of the video is just good fancy music with someone saying few things in between. But you just keep seeing the video, and I'll keep talking.
Okay.
Is it working for you? Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So this video is about the DNA structure, and it's just an introduction that, so this is just one very schematic view of a cell. ऐसा NCERT में भी आपने देखा होगा, right? Let's just try to identify a few organelles. So this is the nucleus, right?
Yes, sir.
In the nucleus, you see these pores, which are called nuclear pores, through which things come in and out, because nucleus is a double membranous structure. And in every kind of nucleus, you will see that there is something little more denser in the center, represented by a circle sometimes, that is called the nucleoid, the concentrated part of the nucleus. Okay. So in the cell, there is cytoplasm. In the nucleus, there is nucleoplasm.
Nucleoplasm.
Okay. And then you see these maze-like structures. These are, what are they?
Endoplasmic reticulum.
Endoplasmic reticulum. And one thing that these diagrams don't tell you is that endoplasmic reticulum actually make a network right from the nuclear membrane going all the way towards the plasma membrane. So one end of endoplasmic reticulum will be connected to plasma membrane, and the other end somewhere will be connected to nuclear membrane. Okay, so it forms a continuous network, and within that network everything lies. So everything is very dense, and a lot of thing is happening inside the cell. It's not like everything is floating in water. Okay.
Yes.
And then on these endoplasmic reticulum, so there are two types, smooth and rough. And basically the smooth and rough thing comes from these small golden dots, which are ribosomes. Okay. So on
Yes.
rough endoplasmic reticulum, there are ribosomes attached on the surface, and on the smooth one, which is like in this diagram, this area, you can see the cursor, right?
Yes, yes.
Where endoplasmic reticulum, where ribosomes are not present, we call it smooth. It's just a notation given. Okay. And then there's a Golgi apparatus, okay, also called as Golgi body.
Yes.
And then there are mitochondria. So these two, yellow and this orange, these are mitochondria. Mitochondria is called the powerhouse of the cell,
Yes.
which must be knowing. And what is this in the center? So these are called spindles. So this is centrosome, from which a lot of spindles come out, and this helps during the division of the cell. And I can tell that this is a bacterial cell. How can I tell that? How can you say that this is a bacterial cell?
Uh,
Can this be a bacterial cell?
I don't know.
No, it cannot be a bacterial cell because any membrane bound structure is not present in a bacterial cell. So the nucleus will not have a membrane if it was a bacterial cell.
Yes, it
But
will be
just, yes, it will just be a,
nucleolus.
yes, floating nucleolus, right? And also, just for the sake of representation, they have shown a flagella here,
Yes.
attached to the plasma membrane. So it might look like a bacterial cell, but it's not. It's just a general representation of the cell. Okay.
Okay.
Now we'll just go further in the video. Let's talk about DNA. So as you said, the DNA is deoxyribonucleic acid. This is the name of DNA. D, N, and A they have marked. And the definition, the textbook definition is that it contains the information that determines inherited characteristics. Now, what does this sentence means? It contains the information that determines inherited characteristics. So whatever one person is going to give to its progeny, all the information is present in DNA, right? But before this process happens and before we transfer characteristics to our offspring, we live with those characteristics throughout our life, right? Before we reproduce. So everything that we are showing as like what is expressed on us as a characteristic, that information is also in the DNA, right? So DNA, before being the information that is transferred, it is the blueprint of our own appearance. So if you have a certain color of the eye, it's because of a gene that is coding for that eye color in your DNA. What kind of hair texture you have, like curly, straight, or any, what kind of skin color do you have? What is the height? All these things are somewhere decided by the information in the DNA, right? Now, what is important to understand about DNA is that it's present in the nucleus. That's fine. And this is the representative structure. It's like a double helix, right? And in that
Yes.
double helix, they have the zoomed in the double helix. Why we call it double helix? Because it's like a ladder. It has two ends. So this is one end, one backbone, and this is the other backbone. And in between are the steps of the ladder. So this representation is more like molecular representation, and this is just the general representation. And then it is twisted. So you take a ladder and you twist it. It becomes a double helix. Okay. So now this backbone, which you see in brown here, is basically the phosphate and the sugar. So the P here is phosphate. So the backbone is made up of one molecule of phosphate attached to one molecule of a ribose sugar. So this 5 carbon sugar, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's a 5. So the fifth carbon is not here. The fifth carbon is somewhere in the plane, but it's a 5 ringed chain. This is a ribose sugar. It is also called pentose sugar. You don't need to remember all of this, but it comes in entrance sometimes. But it's good if you know it. So a phosphate with a pentose sugar makes the backbone. The backbone remains the same in all kinds of DNA, okay, or in RNA. Phosphate with a pentose sugar. So phosphate, sugar, it continues. And then these red, blue, green, and yellow, if you see, so this red, which is marked as A, so these 4 are the bases: A, T, G, and C. A is adenine, T is thymine, C is cytosine, and G is guanine. Okay, these are nitrogenous bases, which actually makes the code of the DNA. So this is the only thing that is different. So if the sugar is attached to a adenine, and adenine forms a double bond with thymine. A always bonds with T. And also from the entrance point of view, you have to remember that A and G are called purines and T and C are called
Pyrimidine.
pyrimidines. Okay,
Yeah.
pyrimidines, right? A always bonds with T with a double bond and G always bonds with C with a triple bond. Okay. So now this one thing, now the question comes about nucleotide and nucleoside. What is a nucleotide and what is a nucleoside? Do you know it? Do you know the difference? This is an entrance, a legit entrance question. So nucleoside is where the sugar is not present. Okay.
Okay.
Whatever is at the site, phosphate and the sugar. And nucleotide is phosphate sugar with the base, nitrogenous base. So these, all the three components which are important to make DNA together are arranged like this. At the roadway, there will be phosphate and sugar, and at the like perpendicular to it will be the nitrogenous base. So this together is called a nucleotide, all the three components. And if one component is missing, then it's nucleoside, and the missing component is the base. Okay. So in this, what they're just telling you is that this is the phosphate group, and this is the sugar, and this is the nitrogenous base that I have already told you. And the sugar is deoxyribose. Okay. In this case, in a case of a RNA, it is ribose.
Ribose.
It's not deoxyribose. So thymine, adenine, guanine, and cytosine are the four bases. Okay. Out of which adenine and guanine are purines, cytosine and thymine are pyrimidines. And you can also remember by one trick that I used to remember it through. The term pyrimidines have a Y, okay? And cytosine and thymine have Y. So they are pyrimidines, okay? Guanine and adenine are purines because they do not have any Y.
Okay.
Because it's asked. The factual questions are like this. And in RNA, the change in the structure is that phosphate and sugar remains the same. The only difference in the sugar is that it's not deoxy, okay, but it's ribose only. It's a 5. The sugar looks like the same when you draw the structure. And the only another difference, major difference is in the bases. Instead of thymine in RNA, there is uracil. So there's a in my last class I showed you the differences between uracil and thymine.
Yeah.
Right? There is very basic difference. So thymine, instead of thymine, there is uracil in RNA. So it will be AGCU or AUGC. In DNA, it's ATGC. Okay. So this is the basics. Now we'll come to so in this also in a DNA, whenever the base pairing happens, so this base pairing ensures that the distance between the two backbones remains the same. Okay. So okay. So there is one question asked that why A only base pairs with T and G only base pairs with C. One thing is pyrimidines only base pairs with purines. Okay. But also in biology, in evolution, from an evolutionary point of view, why it happened? Like ये तो हम आज पढ़ रहे हैं ना, आज मुझे पता है तो मैं बोल रहा हूँ कि A always base pairs with T and G always base pairs with C. But biologically it happened because it makes the structure more stable. Okay, so if we just go 5 in this, so this structure is stable when it's the distance between both these backbones remains the same. So imagine a ladder. If every step of ladder, one step is smaller, one is bigger and getting out of the frame, and the other is very small, will you be able to make a stable ladder? No. So all these steps must be equal. So it just happened that evolutionarily, these molecules, when paired like this, actually fit in very well and keeps the structure linear and stable. One thing which books don't tell you is that the mismatching is also possible. Mismatching actually happens. And whenever mismatching happens, so I'll just go to whiteboard for a moment to just help you understand. So suppose this is one backbone, okay, and this is the other backbone. Can you see it?
Yes, sir.
And these are the base pairs which are pairing equally, so the distance remains the same. Now here is A, so it's very evident that this part will be, if it is A, what it will pair with? A always form a double bond with T, and G forms a triple bond with C. So A will always pair with T, and this will remain the same. But if during any process of DNA, like DNA replication or something, if this strands opens up, so replication पढ़ लिया आपने, right? 11th class में
Yes.
DNA replication, transcription and translation. So during replication, you know that these strands open up,
Yes, sir.
and instead of a A here, if let's say instead of A there is a C that comes in this place, so there is a C, will it be able to pair with T?
No.
No. So proper pairing will not happen, and because the proper pairing will not happen, now the strand will look something like this,
Yes.
right? So this base will be there, but this will not be able to make a bond, so there will be a bulge out.
Yes.
Yeah, and this kind of bulging in DNA actually happens, and it's there in our systems. Okay, and this part is called mutation. It's called a single point mutation, right? And if this mutation does not gets checked, so there are molecules which ensure that, which are called proofreaders. So there is a proofreading happening when we replicate our DNA. When we make a copy of our DNA, there are molecules that are just given the job in biology to proofread whether everything is same or not. And these kind of molecules just sit on this whole thing. Have you ever seen when people lay railway tracks? It's just the same thing. Railway tracks डाले जाते हैं, do you know?
Yes, sir.
So when we put railway tracks and train runs on it, we have to make sure that this distance between the tracks always remains the same. ऐसा नहीं हो सकता है कहीं पे जाके railway track थोड़ा सा ऐसा हो गया, right? It has to be in a straight line and has to be same. So after the, and even millimeter and centimeters of disparity between this distance can cause an accident, right, of a high moving train. So how do they ensure that the railway track is laid properly? After they lay the railway track, they run a checker vehicle which has the same kind of wheels of a train, and it runs, and then there is a scale meter which keeps on measuring the distance. So these wheels are adjustable. So if the distance is this, it will move ahead. When it will come to this point, the distance will increase and it will show up in the meter, right? Now they will note that the tracks are deviating. They are going a little farther. So they will bring it back to the proper thing. A similar kind of molecule sits on the DNA and just slides. And if the base pairing is correct, there will be no bulge. It will be smoothly sliding over it, right? Like in this case. But if there is a bulge, it will stop at the bulge, create a nick, it will cut the DNA, take out the base which was not fitting in, put another base, and then again slide ahead. Do you understand? This is called proofreading in the DNA.
Yes.
So this happens. Even then, there are certain mutations that takes place because biology is full of errors. Okay, and living systems are very complicated and unstable. So coming back, just for the sake of your information, which can help you in exams, that there were 4 scientists who are credited with the finding of structure of DNA. Watson and Crick are the most famous one because they solved the last piece of the puzzle, and hence we know their name, right? Book में भी आपने पढ़ा होगा, but you must also have read about Rosalind Franklin and Wilkins.
Yes.
They both worked together, and it was actually Rosalind Franklin who first did a X-ray crystallography structure. NCERT की बुक में एक बहुत ही खूबसूरत सा स्ट्रक्चर बना हुआ है X टाइप, X शेप का. If you must have noticed, this kind of a structure is shown in NCERT, that Rosalind Franklin figured out that through X-ray crystallography that this kind of a structure emerged in crystallography. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So, and they figured out that this is And through this, Watson and Crick figured out that the DNA is double helix. Abhi school mein, when I was in the school, I could never contemplate that how can this X tell that the DNA is double helix. But this is a diffraction crystallography, and this is not the image of DNA. It just tells that the position of atoms in DNA diffract certain X-ray lights in what angle. Okay. And if you look at DNA from the very top, like suppose this is the double helix and you're looking from here, here. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
Then the diffraction of molecules will look like this from the top. And this was found by Rosalind Franklin. So we'll just go back to the video. So Watson, Crick, Wilkins, and Franklin are associated with this discovery. Okay, I think after this they're just revising and recapping it. So I'll just stop the sharing here. Oh, I've seen Arpit and Yash has also joined. When did you join, Arpit and Yash?
Sir, 5 minutes पहले.
Both of you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
And why are you late?
Sir, dinner कर रहे थे.
Sir, I forgot.
Okay. So remember that it's from now onwards, it's a Friday. It's on a Friday at same time. Okay. Friday 9. So I was just taking through the general description and information about the DNA because that is important for what I'm going to discuss now. Okay. So today we are going to discuss the molecular evolution, how molecules and how evolution is attributed to molecules, how molecules are responsible for evolution. Because whenever we think about evolution, हमारे दिमाग में एक ही diagram आता है where there are monkeys and those monkeys are slowly standing up and then there's the human at the end, right? Which is a very misinterpreted schematic of evolution. We never evolved from monkeys. Okay, cool. So if someone tells you that humans evolved from monkeys, that's incorrect. Humans never evolved from monkeys or chimpanzees. Humans, chimpanzees, monkeys, orangutans, baboons, gorillas, all these primates that have the capability to walk on 2 feet actually had common lines of ancestors back in time. It does not mean we evolved as a whole different species right from the beginning. Okay. We were always belonging to Homo genus. We were never orangutans. Is it clear, everyone?
Yes.
Sir, so is that species discovered that was the common ancestor to
Yes,
humans?
12th. I think in 11th or 12th there is the chapter on evolution where at the end there is one small paragraph on human evolution. Because NCERT, when it was printed, I think it was printed in 2006, and we were not very clear about the line of inheritance of humans. So they have written some names like NCERT, where आपको याद हो थोड़ा सा evolution वाला part. There is name like Homo habilis, right?
Yes.
Or Homo erectus, right? Or Neanderthals, or Homo sapiens, which are us. So ये जो सारे species हैं, all these are the species of different hominid species. We call it hominid because they were all human species. And at some point of time, earlier we used to believe that one came from the other, and this is how we are the last one because we are the most evolved. Again, that's not true, because as we keep digging into research and try to find evidence, we also try to disprove what was incorrectly interpreted in the past. At one point of time, multiple of these human species used to live on the earth at the same time, just like more than one type of tiger species are living on earth today. You know, we have Siberian tiger, we have Bengal tiger, we have other Eurasian and African tigers. We have all different kind of tigers, different species of tigers. We also have different species of elephants. African elephants are different from Indian elephants. We have different species of dogs. The most clear example, you see all sorts of dogs, right? Different species, different, they look differently, and they live on earth at the same time. Similarly, there were multiple species of human who used to live on the earth at the same time. This portion of human evolution I will take in the next series that I'm going to start, and that's on brain and neurons. So I have structured the talks in a way that we are also going to study about human evolution in detail. Okay, so I'll keep it for detail for now. Is it fine for everyone? Itna information
Yes.
chalega abhi? Okay, so let's come back to the main topic. And now we'll go into the molecular evolution. Now, what do you understand by molecular evolution? How do we know that evolution actually happened? What will be the proof of evolution? Just simply saying in words, because Charles Darwin did all his study on phenotypes. The word phenotype means visible characters. Okay. So everything that's visible, he just studied. So you must remember that he studied finches. There is a bird which are called finches, which we say Darwin finches. पढ़ा है ये 11 12 में?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so Darwin finches have different kind of beak structures, and on the basis of these beak structures, Darwin knew nothing about molecules and DNA and all these things, because science was not evolved at that time, but he still drew some conclusions on the basis of phenotypes. But to prove that this study was correct, we cannot just only rely on phenotypes, because phenotypes can be very misleading at times. Okay, we have to go to something which is more fundamental and more scientific, and that is, if evolution is correct, if evolution happened, and if organisms have a common ancestor or a link, then certain things must be conserved, right? Now for that, I will take you to a video, and that's the most important thing that you will learn today, also from recent advancements and also from your syllabus point of view, which is this. Can you see the screen? Is it visible to you? Can you see the screen
Can only
I've
see the
shared?
whiteboard.
You are only seeing the whiteboard.
Yes, sir.
Oh, achha, sorry. I have to reshare. Share the screen. Now is it visible? Molecular evolution and genes.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So this video has audio, and I'll pause it and explain things to you. And because for that you needed some information about DNA, so I just explained DNA. Still, if you don't understand anything, just make me stop and we'll discuss there. Fine.
Yes,
So now
sir.
we are for the first time trying to discuss and debate that evolution actually holds sense. It makes sense. And how does it make sense? And what are the proofs?
Recently,
Is it audible to all of you, the video?
Yes, sir.
we have sequenced and compared the entire genomes of both baker's yeast and a worm. The genes used by the yeast, a very primitive organism, are primarily those that deal with the core biochemical functions that all organisms must perform.
Okay. So this video starts with a reference to a paper. Okay. And this paper, this research paper. So one way to study evolution is like scientists, we ask questions. Okay. If you are saying that evolution happened and life evolved from a single cell organism to multicellular form, right? So whatever we need, whatever that single cell needed for its management and survival and functioning must be conserved in other life forms as well, which are not single cell, right?
Yes, sir.
So like if I'm trying to tell you that there was a single cell in the beginning, और उसके अंदर कुछ functions होते थे, like respiration and all the basic life processes. The first chapter of class 11 that you studied, there are some life processes which we attribute as the feature for life. Okay, one of it is respiration, another is metabolism, molecular movements. So if this was true, then whatever a bacteria used to do respiration, a human must also be using the same thing for respiration, right? क्योंकि अगर human एक अलग, like if it's a secluded species, create it right from the scratch as it is, then why it is using the same ingredients that is used to for the bacteria to survive? Does this question make sense to you?
Yes.
Only if we are scientifically related somehow, and that relation we will discuss later, then only it makes sense that certain biochemical signatures are conserved. Okay. Now, in this paper, they did an experiments on C. elegans. C. elegans is a worm. It's a very small microscopic worm, but it's multicellular. Okay, it moves like a worm, like an earthworm. Okay, and this is yeast, the same yeast we use in our bread, the baker's yeast. Scientific name is Cerevisiae. And they figured out that okay, I'll just let the video play to tell you what they figured out, and then we'll discuss.
It was expected and proved true that the worm contains most of these same genes. But the reverse is not true.
Okay, what he just said is that they figured out that all these functional genes that are required by a yeast, because yeast is a single celled organism, right? So everything that is required by a single cell yeast was present in the worm. But because worm is a multicellular organism, of course it has more functions than yeast. It will start having a neuronal structure. It will start making a rudimentary brain. It will start having muscles so that the worm can move. It's not a single cell, it's a multicellular organism. So there must be more genes that help the worm be the worm, and those genes will not be present in the yeast. Does it make sense? Because those genes evolved later.
Yes, sir.
Does it make sense or not?
Yes.
See, you have to discuss. If it doesn't make sense, we will discuss why it doesn't make sense or why it makes sense. Okay. So they figured out that the set of genes that are different in C. elegans are those genes which give C. elegans or the worm the ability to be a worm and be different from yeast. Okay.
Since the worm is a more modern creature than the yeast, the worm genes that deal with multicellularity are certainly absent from the yeast. But more than that, these extra genes are directly derived from the primitive genes that provide core cellular function. A larger study reveals at the genetic level, newer genes are copiously created from more primitive forms in order to accommodate the requirements of more modern and more sophisticated organisms. Some proteins are found in every living eukaryote on Earth.
Okay. Now, before this segment begins, we know that there are differences in genes in different organisms depending on how complex or how modern they are in evolutionary history. Okay. So they have shown some model systems. So this can you see my cursor, everyone?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So this is a fruit fly. It's like a fly, the common house fly, but it's slightly different from a house fly. What is this thing? Okay. This is a bat. In the center, the bigger one is hippopotamus. The smaller creatures are protists. So you must have also read in your 5 kingdom classification the protista, protozoans, right?
Yes, sir.
And then humans, and then octopus. Okay. Now, if the evolutionary link is same, then right, so we have to pin down the most basic kind of gene that is important for all sorts of life. So what do you think can be common between Drosophila, bat, hippopotamus, octopus, a protist, and a human? Tell me. What do you think is common? What life process is common?
Digestion.
Digestion, very good. And
Assimilation.
good. A more basic, let's go to, because if you say digestion, someone can come and say कि अरे protista के पास तो intestines होते ही नहीं है और ड्रोसोफिला का intestines बहुत rudimentary होता है. let's not go for digestion, something which is very basic, which is the core thing of life, without which life cannot survive.
Sir, protection.
Go back, even go inside the cell, because in सारे organisms में जो चीज common है वो है कि every organism have a cellular structure, चाहे वो multicellular हो चाहे unicellular हो, सेल तो होता ही है. सेल के अंदर कौन सा फंक्शन सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट है? नथिंग लाइक अ बायोलॉजिस्ट. व्हाट एवरी सेल नीड्स टू सर्वाइव? कम ऑन. what a car needs to run?
Petrol.
Yes, so what is the petrol of our body?
Oxygen.
ATP.
Exactly, energy, the ATP, the energy currency of the cell, which is produced in mitochondria, right?
Yes, sir.
So right from the beginning of eukaryotes, in all the eukaryotes which have a true nucleus, right, there must be mitochondria and there must be production of energy taking place. There must be production of ATP taking place, and ATP is produced in mitochondria, which is called as the powerhouse of the cell. Is it correct?
Yes, sir.
Now, if I pin down to one gene which is responsible for the functioning of mitochondria, without which mitochondria cannot function and hence no energy can be generated and every organism will die. And if I ask you that right from a protist to a mammal, which is human, to octopus, to hippopotamus, to a fly, to a bat, that one protein or that one gene must be conserved, right? And will be same, right? Because we know that how genes are transferred. How are genes transferred? From one generation to another. Is it clear? Does it make sense?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
तो अगर मैं तुमसे बोलूं कि we have one gene which is exactly the same in structure and function and its sequence, which is also present in a fruit fly. What does it means? कि किसी ने फ्रूट फ्लाई के अंदर से, सेल के अंदर से वो जीन काटा, उसको इंजेक्शन में भरा और हमारे एम्ब्रियो के अंदर घुसा दिया. Does it mean that?
No, sir.
No. It means that through evolution, like at the very primitive time, when humans did not exist on the planet, when it was reptiles era, and before reptiles it was very small organisms called crustaceans, and before that it was arthropods, and fly is an arthropod. So flies having that gene, and over time as life evolved and branched, about which we will study how they branched, when they branched, this gene kept on passing from one generation to another, and over millions and billions of years, because this gene is crucial for mitochondria, and we have mitochondria, flies have mitochondria, hippopotamus have mitochondria. So this gene stays the same and is conserved, right? And this is a molecular proof that we do not use the different kind of molecule. So that molecule was cytochrome C. So let's just start and look at the video.
Fruit flies and bats, octopi and hippos, protists and humans. One such protein is cytochrome C. It is found in the mitochondria, the energy generating parts of all eukaryote cells, and without it, the cells die. Experimenting with yeast.
Okay, यहाँ तक समझ में आया?
Yes, sir.
Now, before I move forward, I am asking you to think like scientists and devise an experiment. मैंने ये बोल दिया. Now, this is क्या तुम लोग बस मान लोगे? Because मैंने बोला तो तुमने मान लिया कि ओके अभी सर ने बोला है साइटोक्रोम सी है और फ्लाई में भी है, हमारे अंदर भी है, तो हाँ एवोल्यूशन हुआ ही होगा. क्यों मान ले भाई? Because in science we do not go by words of scientists. We go by experimental proofs and data, right? So what is the best way to prove experimentally जो मैं बोल रहा हूँ वो सच है? कि we have the same cytochrome C as a fruit fly or a hippopotamus or a Drosophila or a protist. How can I prove it? What will you do? Arpit, Mariam, Yash. If you have to prove that me and yeast have the same cytochrome. How will you prove it? And without cytochrome, a functional cytochrome C, without this functional molecule, cell will die. So how will you prove it? Think about it. Tell me.
You can take different cells and then analyze them for cytochrome.
We will take different cells and then
we'll analyze them.
we will check the sequence of the cytochrome.
Yes.
ठीक है, मान लो वो भी कर लिया, सीक्वेंस भी सेम है, बट स्टिल मैं ये मानने को तैयार नहीं हूं कि वो वही फंक्शनल साइटोक्रोम है. क्या पता सीक्वेंस सेम हो लेकिन हमारे अंदर साइटोक्रोम अलग काम करता हो, ईस्ट के अंदर अलग काम करता हो, हम फालतू में ही दोनों के बीच में एक रिलेशन बना रहे हैं. This is one way, you are right, but this will just lead us to one step ahead. This is not the final like proof. सीक्वेंस से मान लो सीक्वेंस सेम भी है, बट मैं मानने को तैयार नहीं. सीक्वेंस सेम हो तो क्या हुआ, हो सकता है सीक्वेंस सेम हो, बट वी आर नॉट रिलेटेड टू ईस्ट. आवर साइटोक्रोम इज डिफरेंट, क्योंकि सीक्वेंस के बाद स्ट्रक्चर आता है. हो सकता है स्ट्रक्चर में कोई फर्क पड़ा हो सकता है वो जहां जाके बाइंड होता है उसमें फर्क पड़ा हो सकता है ईस्ट का साइटोक्रोम माइटोकॉन्ड्रिया में जाता हो, हमारा माइटोकॉन्ड्रिया में जाता ही ना हो, हम कोई और मॉलिक्यूल यूज कर रहे हैं. तो व्हाट इज a better way? Because in science we are always critical, right? That is what science is, until we reach a point where we say that this is a proof. इसमें अभी कोई तुम खामी नहीं निकाल सकते. तो सीक्वेंस में खामी है, मैंने निकाल दी. What will you do now, Arpit? Yash and Mariam, please participate in the discussion. This is the time where you can think like scientists and not students, because scientists are also students. क्या करेंगे फिर हम, क्या कर सकते हैं हम? Hello?
Sir, maybe we can interchange.
Exactly. You're right. Not maybe. अगर मैं बोल रहा हूं कि ह्यूमन सेल का साइटोक्रोम सेम है जो 3.2 बिलियन ईयर्स अगो पहले यूकैरियोटिक सेल ने यूज किया था, वही साइटोक्रोम है हमारे अंदर. Throughout the evolution, this cytochrome has been conserved and has been passed on from one generation to another without a change. Because if this will change, the molecule will become infunctional, and if it's not functional, we will die. So the only way to test is take a human version of cytochrome C gene and put it into yeast, right? And see if it is the same, or do the vice versa. But doing the vice versa is not ethically allowed. Like we cannot take a yeast version of cytochrome C and put it into a human embryo, because doing experiments with human embryo is ethically not allowed, right? But हम दोनों में से कुछ भी करें, बात तो एक ही है ना, we can interchange. So what
Yes,
we will do is we will take a yeast mother cell, which is, and how do yeast reproduce? Budding. So when it will bud, because yeast is a single cell, it is very easy to make changes in yeast. एक ही cell है ना, तो एक ही DNA copy भी होगा, right?
Yes, sir.
Just after the budding, we'll take the bud, which is a newly formed bud, and through the newly advanced technologies of CRISPR mutation is a technique by which we can cut DNA at whatever positions we want, and we can take out the gene. It is called knocking out the gene. We can put our gene of interest. तो हम ईस्ट का साइटोक्रोम सी का कॉपी निकाल देंगे, ठीक है? And because without cytochrome C, yeast will not be able to survive, it will die. So like in a very brief time in the experiment, we will take out its copy and we'll put human copy of cytochrome C gene. तो हमने उसके DNA से उसका कॉपी हटा दिया और अपना कॉपी डाल दिया. अभी अगर हमारा कॉपी सेम process of translation and transcription के through, and then after translation same protein बनाता है, and yeast keeps on surviving and starts making ATP of its own, we will know that our copy of gene worked. So a human copy of gene is exactly the same as a yeast's copy of the same gene. Am I right?
Yes.
Yes, and we can do it by not only from humans, we can take a horse copy, a hippopotamus copy, a Drosophila's copy, a fruit fly, any organism, dog, cat, because सब में वही cytochrome C है. So we'll take that cytochrome C का copy from different organisms, and if it is true, the more number of organisms we will test, the more sure we will keep on getting that yes, a molecular evolution through time happened, and we all are somewhere related at molecular level, not just at phenotype. Because Darwin ने phenotype देख के ये बताया कि जो finches हैं वो आपस में रिलेटेड है, और उनके बीक में डिफरेंस इसलिए है बिकॉज दे हैव डिफरेंट फीडिंग हैबिट्स. बट नॉट इवन डार्विन कुड टेल दैट ईस्ट इज आल्सो रिलेटेड टू अ ह्यूमन ऑन अ मॉलिक्यूलर लेवल, बिकॉज देख के मॉलिक्यूलर लेवल का पता नहीं चलता, राइट? बट when it comes to generation of ATP, the same mechanism works in both, the same gene works in both. हमें लगता है कि हमारे जीन्स हमें हमारे पेरेंट्स से मिले, but if I ask you a question, from where did they get it? From their parents. Where did they get it? From their parents. And you keep on questioning generation before generation before generation before generation, you will come to again human evolution, that at one point of time there was no one living in Asia. The Asian subcontinent was not like this, because origin of human form happened in somewhere in plains of Africa. This is the most common belief till now, but there are also reports that say that different species of humans used to live at the same time, which means at different points in time and at different places certain species rose, but still unko bhi ye gene kahin se to mila hoga, right? Then we keep on going back in time and trace the lineage through molecular phylogeny, and we say that at one point of time there was a branch from where two species branched out, and this is how science is done in evolution. Okay, so it's more complex than we just stated in textbook for the sake of simplicity. So let's just now listen to what they did as experiments, and they did exactly the same what you all told me.
Yeast, researchers have shown that human cytochrome C protein works for the yeast as well as its own. Indeed, they have substituted genes from fish, birds, horses, insects, and rats into the yeast as well. And all of these genes produce cytochrome C proteins that work for the yeast too. But the gene that codes for this protein has been buffeted with sequence mutations over the billions of years that it has existed.
Now, here comes the most interesting part. Hello, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
So this is one gene that they took as an example to just say that cytochrome C का molecular evolution ऐसा हुआ है. But still, let's be more skeptical. Let's not take it as a result. Just because किसी ने एक molecule उठा के ये prove कर दिया कि वो molecule yeast से लेके humans तक में same काम करता है, and just because that molecule is a very crucial molecule which helps in the maintenance of mitochondria and without which life will not survive, हम ये नहीं मानने को तैयार हैं that in evolution all these species are linked. Okay, what next? क्या कर सकते हैं अभी और? Is this is the last stage of research we have reached, or we can further go further? And one thing is we can take gene turn by turn. सारे important genes को turn by turn लो और सब में यही prove करो, right? That is one redundant work we can do. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
साइटोक्रोम सी ले लिया, फिर रेस्पिरेशन के लिए कोई एंजाइम ले लिया, फिर कोई और जीन ले लिया, फिर कोई और जीन ले लिया. बट अगेन हर किसी में मैं यही बोल सकता हूँ कि जस्ट बिकॉज यू आर प्रूविंग दैट मॉलिक्यूल सेम है तो इसका मतलब थोड़ी कि हम रिलेटेड है. यू नो, मैदा से पास्ता ही बनता है और मैदा से और भी बहुत सारी डिशेस बनती हैं, बट ऐसा नहीं है कि पास्ता इवॉल्व फ्रॉम सम अदर डिश. एम आई राइट? दिस इज वन गुड स्केप्टिसिज्म इन साइंस.
Yes, sir.
Samosa or pasta, if you say that samosa evolved from pasta because both are made up of maida, people will laugh. So similarly, let's just laugh at science because scientists are very open for criticisms, and because that is what drives science ahead. This is not the penultimate proof. Fair enough. So let's see what they further did.
Essentially, all of these mutations are silent. Null sequence sections inserted in a gene that do not change the protein that is built from amino acids based on these genes. But these mutations do tell the genealogy of the owners. For example, humans and chimps have exactly the same amino acid sequence for this protein. It hasn't mutated in this.
Yes. So this is just an example for cytochrome C where they are saying that this is the above. So this MGDVEK, in the last class I told you that for every amino acid there is a single letter attributed, right? M is for which is the first amino acid which starts at the beginning of the protein?
Myosin.
Arey, methionine. AUG, methionine, and methionine has a sulfur in it. Remember I showed you the structures?
Yes, sir.
Huh? Only you remember, yeah? Mariam, Yash, also remember? Okay. So single letter code for methionine is M. Okay. So you see that the protein for human is starting. Of course, if it's a protein, it has to start with M, any protein. But this whole structure between us and chimps are exactly the same. Exactly the same. Like not even a single mutation is there. बहुत बार if mutation happens at a very crucial point, like sickle cell anemia का केस पढ़ा 11th-12th में.
Yes.
Sickle cell anemia happens because of a single point mutation. Instead of glutamine, there is a valine in its position. Of glutamic acid or glutamine, there is a valine in the position. और सिर्फ एक अमीनो एसिड के चेंज की वजह से the whole structure changes because that change happens in a very crucial point. In proteins, every point, every region is not crucial. So for example, let's say that this is one region and there are gaps. This is the other region. This is a continuous protein, but there are different regions. So if there is a mutation in, let's say, this part, there will be no change with the structure of protein. But if there is a mutation anywhere in this part, there will be a change in the structure. ऐसा हो सकता है, right? So even if there is a change in sequence, you can keep the structure conserved. But फिर भी humans and chimps के sequence के बीच में कोई भी mutation नहीं है. Okay?
6 or 7 million years since our lines separated. And our common gene is at most 10 amino acids different from all other mammals,
Yes.
confirming our close relationship with other mammals.
Now, as we are going back in time, so this graph is showing you the lineage type of representation. Let's say this is for the top one is for human, this is the structure. For chimp, this is the sequence. For monkey, come back to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th, 6th domain. You can see the 6th domain here. In the 6th domain, it should be IIW, right? Instead, it is ITW. You understand? So there is one amino acid change between us and monkeys. Is it clear? Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And if we go further down to very basic mammals like mouse, which are rodents, which does not look anything like humans, you see that the change or the mutation starts from the second domain itself. So there are a lot of amino acids which are different, but still, because this is the molecule, the cytosol, and again I ask you, so if there are changes and if I am putting a human version of cytochrome inside a mouse which has a different sequence, okay, and if it works exactly the same and the mouse is producing exactly the same amount of energy and living a healthy life without any problem, no disease, no disorder, what does it mean? I'll take one answer at a time. Arpit, what does it mean? So you can see that there's a difference in sequence between a mouse sequence of cytochrome C and a human sequence of cytochrome C. But if I put a human sequence into mouse and mouse survives perfectly fine, what does it mean? Hello? Am I not audible?
Sir, audible.
So what does it mean? Think.
Sir, that they both do the same function.
Yes, and the function of protein depends on, last class में मैंने बोला था, it's not only the sequence but what it is. When we were studying steroids, I showed you different structures. The difference between the testosterone and estrogen structure was very less, but still there was a difference of one hydrogen which was making all the difference. So it's not only the sequence but it's the structure, which means anyone else would like to give an answer? इतना hint दे दिया मैंने. Mariam, Yash. सेम सीक्वेंस डाल रहे हैं माउस में, माउस का सीक्वेंस हटा दिया गया है, but still it's working the same. What does it means?
So that different codes can give the same structure.
Exactly. It means that even if there are mutations, that these two different sequences which differ in, like, let's say थोड़े बहुत 10-12 amino acid का difference है, but still this difference is not in the crucial regions and it's not changing the structure. That's why a human cytochrome protein can go and bind to exactly at the same place in a mouse where it was binding on a human. So basically cytochrome C as a protein goes and binds to a receptor on mitochondria. So if mitochondria is conserved and if the structure is conserved of the receptor, then the structure of the protein which is binding to it must also be conserved. Because one thing which you will study in your 11th, 12th, or you must have studied, is that for receptors and their binding partners, it is a lock and key mechanism. जिस तरह से एक लॉक के अंदर उसी का की फिट हो सकता है and no other key can open that lock, no other protein can activate that receptor. अगर ऐसा हो जाएगा तो there will be lot of chaos in the system, because insulin can only activate the receptor which is important to tell the cell that see, take glucose inside the cell. अगर कोई भी और इंसुलिन जैसा दिखने वाला 10, 19, 20 के फर्क वाला प्रोटीन भी आके अगर उस पर बाइंड कर जाए, then there will be a problem, right? Then even if when we don't need glucose, the cell will keep taking on glucose. So it has to be insulin only and no other protein, even if it is looking like insulin. You understand? It has to be exactly like insulin, in which case it will be the other molecule of insulin. जिस तरह से चाबी का कॉपी चाबी बनाते हैं, तो it's exactly the same, उसमें सारे डेंट सेम होते हैं, that's why it can open the lock. So it's a lock and key mechanism, which proves, so this experiment tells that the structure, the same structure can be achieved even with a slightly change in sequence if the change is not in a very crucial region. Is it okay?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So this is one proof of divergent evolution. Divergent evolution means that organisms are very different in their appearances and the way they look and the way they behave and the way they reproduce and the way they work, because certain changes over time. So this mouse genome, this mouse sequence is different from human sequence because certain changes happened over time. So जितना हम पीछे जाएंगे टाइम में उतना प्रिमिटिव ऑर्गेनिज्म है, which means माउस के एंसेस्टर्स ह्यूमन के एंसेस्टर्स से पहले थे अर्थ पे. And if mouse cytochrome was like this, then maybe when it came to monkeys there are certain changes happen. ये T same रह गया और चीजें चेंज हो गई. And when the common ancestor of monkeys and chimpanzees segregated, the same thing, you know, in crossbreeding through genetic transfer came to chimpanzees. And when our ancestors diverged from chimpanzees, the same cytochrome came to our ancestors. It's not like that if you keep a chimpanzee for 50 or 60 years in a human-like environment, it will become a human. It will never become a human. A chimpanzee will never become a human even after 1 lakh generations. It will stay a chimpanzee. A chimpanzee can be a more evolved chimpanzee than a primitive chimpanzee, just like modern humans are more evolved than the primitive humans. And who are primitive humans? Homo habilis, Homo erectus, but they were humans. They were not chimpanzees. Is it making sense to you now?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So
Yes,
let's go further in this study. There are some interesting things.
The differences increase as we step further back in time and further from our own branch on the tree of life.
So this is tuna, the
The
fish.
yeast itself has 51 amino acid differences from that of humans and chimps, and is one of the most distantly related organisms from humans, having separated from our branch over 1 billion years ago. Researchers have discovered another point about cytochrome C protein. It is somewhat easy to make other proteins that serve the same function. In fact, there are more possible proteins that can perform this function than there are atoms in the universe.
Now comes the more interesting part. कि ये भी मान लिया कि सीक्वेंस में फर्क होने के बाद भी if you can attain the same structure, मैं नहीं मान रहा कि all these organisms are related in evolution. Okay? Now, what is one further question we can ask? So, in case of cytochrome C, cytochrome C, scientists were lucky to figure out that this structure. Can you see the structure and can you see my cursor, everyone?
Yes, sir.
This whole structure of, and now you can appreciate because of our last class that what are these? ये helix जैसा क्या है?
Alpha helix.
Alpha helix. And what are these straight ones? What are this? What is this? The beta pleated sheets.
Yes, a beta.
Okay. So that's why we studied about protein first, and now we are coming to its evolution. So you can see that in cytochrome C, the whole structure is not responsible for activating the receptor. The receptor is fairly very small, and they figured out that in biology, just by trial and error method, or just by tweaking with some other proteins which are present in, so there are thousands and lakhs and crores of proteins in our each and every cell, and a lot of proteins with a slight mutation, if induced in them, can actually behave like cytochrome. And actually scientists ने बहुत सारे cytochrome ढूंढ भी लिए हैं. Okay, but still for the function that we are studying, cytochrome C is the only gene that is used by every organism. From yeast to human, every organism uses the same. Now my question, I will simplify the question to you, is suppose there are 50 versions of pasta available to you. Okay? And somehow all the 100 people in the room are preferring that one pasta, one specific type of pasta over every other pasta. What does it mean?
It is better.
That pasta is tasty.
That pasta is
Tasty.
basic or tasty?
So tasty.
Tasty, right? It is better or it is. So one thing which it means is that it is better than others, right? Now let me ask you another type of question. एक रूम में 100 लोग हैं and there are 50 allergen molecules in the room. जितने भी डिफरेंट टाइप की एलर्जीज हो सकती है, पॉलन एलर्जी, डस्ट एलर्जी, सॉ एलर्जी, होता है ना एलर्जी, किसी को लाइट से एलर्जी होती है, किसी को टेम्परेचर से एलर्जी होती है, किसी को पॉलन ग्रेन से, किसी को डस्ट से, किसी को एक पर्टिकुलर स्मेल से एलर्जी होती है, किसी को एक पर्टिकुलर फूड आइटम से एलर्जी होती है, राइट? कुछ लोग अगर एक पर्टिकुलर फूड आइटम खा लेंगे तो दे विल स्टार्ट गेटिंग रैशेस एंड स्टार्ट स्नीजिंग एंड कफिंग, राइट? So all these different kind of allergens are introduced in the room, but all 100 reacted to just one allergen. What does it mean? Out of yes, what does it mean?
They have the same mechanism.
Perfect, right? Just go one step further. What kind of same mechanism? Allergy happens because of mutation in our genomes. Let me give you a hint. So suddenly a normal neutral molecule, when we encounter it, we start showing a very abrupt immune response to that molecule. क्योंकि हमारी बॉडी को लगने लगता है कि ये कुछ बड़ी खतरनाक चीज आ गई है, whether जबकि it's not very खतरनाक, but just because of one mutation in our receptors, we start recognizing it as खतरनाक. उसे कहते हैं एलर्जी. हाइपर एक्सेजरेटेड इम्यून सिस्टम इज कॉल्ड एलर्जी. तो अगर सारे के सारे 100 के 100 लोगों को एक ही एलर्जन से रिएक्शन शो हो रहा है और बाकी all 50 other allergens are doing nothing, what does it mean? Come on. You reach the first step. Dig in, think little more. What does it mean?
That all of the people are related somehow.
Exactly. It means that on a genetic level, all of these humans are related. हो सकता है ये एक extended खानदान हो, right?
Yes, sir.
Do you agree? Because all of them have exactly the same kind of mutation in exactly the same region of the DNA, which is causing them to react to exactly the same allergen. So this is a hypothetical situation. ऐसा नहीं हो सकता, because even in families, after every generation, when we pass on genes, there is some kind of mixing which happens. अगर मदर को एक एलर्जी है, फादर को उस तरह के एलर्जन से कोई एलर्जी नहीं है, तो हो सकता है कि कुछ बच्चों को एलर्जी हो और कुछ बच्चों को ना हो. but this is a hypothetical situation which I made for you to ask that अगर सबको वो एलर्जी है तो एक ही रीजन हो सकता है कि they are related on a genetic level, which means they are all related in ancestry. That's why all their genetic mutations are same. Is it correct? All of you agree?
Yes, sir.
So now in the case of cytochrome C as well, if from yeast to humans we all are using exactly the same molecule given from the soup of thousands and hundreds of molecules, which after just a small mutation we could have used it for ourselves, what does it mean? This means that first thing which means is that this one cytochrome C sequence is better than the other. It's doing the job better, like you said, it's tastier. And other thing which means is that all of us on a genetic level, in evolution, now it's not in ancestry, in evolution, in billions of years, are molecularly related, right? I'm not saying that two yeasts reproduced and a gorilla was formed. This is absurd. I'm saying on a molecular evolution scale, we are related, right? Make sense to you?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So why do all organisms on Earth use the same version? The answer is simple, really. We inherited the one we use from our common ancestor.
Exactly.
There are sections of an organism's genome called transposons that have no other function except for inserting copies of themselves.
Now this part, all of you just listen to it, because this is where I'll end today's lecture, and this will be your takeaway message or homework for the next class. Now we are coming from molecular evolution to certain diseases that we studied about prions, and certain diseases that were incurable, and certain genetic disorders which we still are finding a cure for. So in the next class, we'll try to connect whatever we have learned in this advanced biology class to these diseases. So there are certain regions in our DNA, in all of our DNA, which are called transposons. Okay, and these transposons keep on jumping from one region of the DNA to other region of the DNA. Now, how they jump and how it happens, this I will start in the next section. So just write the term transposons. Okay, I'll just stop sharing this. We'll continue this video right from here before the next meeting. Okay. Can you see the whiteboard now?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So transposons, a very important region for entrance point of view, because genetics and evolution में इससे बहुत सारे questions आते हैं. बहुत सारे मतलब एक पेपर में 1 से 2 questions मैंने हर साल देखे हैं. And this will lead us to discussing this DNA fingerprinting. My question is, अभी मैंने बताया कि हमारे और चिंपैंजी के जीनोम में कोई डिफरेंस ही नहीं है. साइटोक्रोम सी तो एग्जैक्टली सेम है और 99% अदर डीएनए सीक्वेंस इज एग्जैक्टली सेम. That 0.1% is different between us and chimpanzees. When I say us, I'm talking about 7 billion humans on the planet. तो फिर ये बताओ, how do we figure out that who is whose father? Through DNA fingerprinting, I am saying that 100% of functional genes are same in every human. Like if you do a gene sequence of me versus any other human on the planet, it will come to be 100% conserved. That's why we all are humans, right? Between chimpanzees is also the same. The functional genes are 100% conserved. So clearly it's not about the functional gene. Clearly it's not about the change in cytochrome C or any other crucial molecules. So where does the change lies that tells us the difference between one human versus the other? करते हैं ना हम DNA test.
Yes, sir.
And we can
Yes.
exactly tell कि कौन किसका father है, कौन किसका बेटा है. We do not tell कि ये related है. We can actually tell कि ये कौन है. ये इसकी नानी थी, कि दादी थी, कि मामी थी, कि चाची थी. We can tell that if we study the sequence of the whole family group. In case of parents, we can tell that ये इसका paternal side DNA है, ये इसका maternal side DNA है, and this is the DNA of the culprit or the person we are trying to find parents for. How do we do that? So we will take forward the discussion from transposons, and then we'll come to DNA fingerprinting. we will try to relate, if we can finish it in time, we'll try to relate it to certain diseases and how these things are helping us to find a cure now. Is it fine? Is it interesting? So I think in a couple of more classes, or 3 to 4 more classes, let's say, yes, in a month or month and a half, we'll try to finish the biomolecules and evolution chapter, and we'll come to human evolution and brain, a very interesting series. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so what did you learn? I hope you learned something from today's lecture.
Yes.
Okay, so take care, revise these things, try to figure out more if you are interested in biological sciences or to become a doctor, a scientist, and want to stay in biology. It's very interesting to know the biology of your own systems. Okay, so we'll carry from here, and I'll see all of you in the next class.
Sir,
Yes, I'll take questions. Yeah, ask me questions.
sir, if humans and chimpanzees they evolved from the same ancestor, why is that ancestor still not existing?
The ancestor does not exist. That is the point. So we have
Sir, why?
humans and we have chimps, and this is a very, very good question. Okay, that I am saying, I'm not saying that chimps became humans. Okay, this is incorrect. So what I am saying is, I mean science is saying is that humans and chimps, like this is present 2021, and this is some 6 million years ago. They had a common ancestor, and this common ancestor, let's call it X, Mr. X. Okay, this Mr. X was neither a chimpanzee nor a human. It was entirely something different, from which 2 different subsets evolved. One became chimps and one became human. So where is Mr. X, right? Why is Mr. X not within us now? Because ये अगर हमारे साथ ये भी तो यहाँ से कंटिन्यू कर सकते थे ना, कंटिन्यू करके मिस्टर एक्स यहाँ पे होते तो मजा ही आ जाता. You know, we can just meet Mr. X, we can meet chimpanzees can, and he can, you know, connect to both because he's our ancestor. This is your question. This is what is your question is, right? Where is
Yes,
Mr. X? Yes. So this, because the way I have planned the human evolution series, I have targeted all these questions, and with some proofs, evidences, papers, and fossils, and not only fossils, again the molecular biological proofs that where is Mr. X. So the Mr. X is not among us clearly today, but why did it die or where did it go? So there is a reason, there is a scientific reason, and to understand that, we have to understand what happened here or what happens anywhere. So whenever 2 species branch from one point, you know, and again there is a branch, and then there must be 2 or more species coming in, and again there must be a branch. So whenever there is a branching, you understand what is the reason, what happened here, here, or here. So these are called branching events in science. Similarly, like when we study the evolution of cosmos, you know, our sun is a mid-sized star. You know that?
yes, sir.
And there are almost all other stars, most of the stars in our universe are bigger than sun. There are some stars that are smaller than our sun. And a star also has a life. It starts from something and it ends as something. So let's say it starts as X, and this is where our sun is right now in its life cycle, and it will end as Y. This is the evolution of a sun. But at every point, there is something that happens which makes its transition from one phase to other, from a star to a supernova to sometimes a black hole. What happens that a star becomes a supernova? What happens that a supernova becomes a black hole? So all these are called branching events, and these are very interesting and important to study with proofs. Similarly, in biology, there are a lot of branching events in biology. So what happened here and why Mr. X disappeared? If you allow me, can I take this in the series that I have planned for? Because it's a fairly detailed discussion that we will go in. But it's a very important question. Thanks for asking this. And this shows that you are being critical and you're being a scientist. Any other question, Mariam, Yash, or should we just wrap it for the day? Okay, so see you next time, next Friday, same time. Inform others and come at 9.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Take
Thank
care,
you, sir.
everyone. Bye bye.
Good night.